So that kind of bleeds into the continuity, right? Like if somebody's in the ER right now, it's no longer about just fixing them and sending them on their way. Now there's readmission standards and how much they use in care over the next 30 days and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that's kind of what we're bleeding into, right? This continuity. How does a value-based reimbursement scheme, if we're going to do that, kind of count for and cover all of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it poses challenges for assessing value as we've moved away from sort of siloed care into this idea of more holistic care, connected care, continuous care. Your primary care physician should talk to this physician and all that sort of stuff. That's great, and that often provides better care. But in terms of assessing value, it can make it more complicated to understand. Okay, what portion of that journey is what affected whether or not, say, they were readmitted or had an infection or had a relapse or whatever it was. How do we sort of tease out where the value is, and how do we determine which activities and which processes and which policies had the biggest impact on that value, both in sort of like a conceptual way, but also just in terms of getting data. I mean, if you want to really understand and really gather information and data that will help you do this, you might need to collect it from multiple settings and multiple sources and multiple clinicians and over a long period of time. So just logistically, it can make it that much harder to sort of fully assess the value of a particular sort of care pathway.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got, like you said, we know holistic care is the way to go. We know we shouldn't be siloed, but most of the time, all of the clinicians on that care team are siloed, right? They're different provider organizations or different provider practices, or, the specialty, anesthesiology, its own practice within the hospital. And then, surgeries, it's, orthopedics is its own little silo. So then there's all the argument too about it. Well, who gets paid? How do we code for it? How do we bill for it? And that's even when it gets even more complex, right? Because then you're getting CPT codes for asynchronous, virtual care versus this, that, and the other versus a consultation. It just becomes a mess.
Yeah, and we're making it, again, virtual care and remote care is a good thing and provides access, and yet it just complicates things too,
Yeah.
right? And so, these are challenges that we're facing and that we will face going forward. And so, my argument is not that we need to make it less complex or we need to make it, less continuous. We just need to be aware of these things as we are thinking about value assessments to understand where are the challenges and what are we going to do and how are we going to sort of design this with these things in mind.
Yeah.